Hi, third graders. Welcome back to our read aloud of James and the Giant Peach. We are at the point in our book where James and all of his new friends that are inside this peach, they got done like trampling and going through all the town, and they realize we're bobbing and they don't know where they're exactly at. So the spider had made them a web of a rope, and now they're climbing to the top. So here we go, chapter 18. A minute later, they were out in the open, standing on the very top of the peach, near the stem, blinking their eyes in the strong sunlight and peering nervously all around. What happened? Where are we? This is impossible, unbelievable, terrible. I told you we were bobbing up and down, the ladybug said. We're in the middle of the sea, cried James. And indeed they were. A strong current and a high wind had carried the peach so quickly away from the shore that already all land was out of sight. All around them lay just a vast black ocean, deep and hungry. Little waves were bibbling up against the side of the peach. How did this happen? They cried. Where are the fields? Where are the woods? Where is England? Nobody, not even James, could understand how in the world a thing like this would come about. Ladies and gentlemen, said the old green grasshopper, trying very hard to keep his fear and his disappointment out of his voice. I am afraid that we have found ourselves in a rather awkward situation. Awkward? Cried the earthworm. My dear old grasshopper, we are finished. Every one of us is about to perish. I may be blind, you know, but that much I can see quite clearly now. Off with my boots, shouted the centipede. I cannot swim with my boots on. I can't swim at all, cried the ladybug. Nor can I, wailed the glowworm. Nor I, said Miss Spider. None of us three girls can swim a single stroke. But you won't have to swim, said James calmly. We're floating beautifully. And sooner or later a ship is bound to come along and pick us up. They all stared at him in amazement. Are you quite sure that we're not sinking? The ladybug asked. Of course I'm sure, answered James. Go on, look for yourselves. They all ran over to the side edge of the peach and peered down at the water below. Oh, the boy is quite right, the old green grasshopper said. We are floating beautifully. Now, we must all just sit down, keep perfectly calm, and everything will be all right in the end. What absolute nonsense, cried the earthworm. Nothing is ever all right in the end. We all know it. Poor earthworm, the ladybug said, whispering in James's ear. He loves to make everything into a disaster. He hates to be happy. He's only happy when he's gloomy. Now isn't that odd? But then, I suppose, just being an earthworm is enough to make any person pretty gloomy. Don't you agree? If this peach is not going to sink, the earthworm said, and if we're not going to be drowned, then every one of us is going to starve to death. Do you realize that we hadn't eaten a thing since yesterday morning? By golly, he's right, cried the centipede. For once, earthworm is right. Of course I'm right, the earthworm said, and we're not likely to find anything around here. We shall be thinner and thinner and thirstier, and we shall die a slow and gruesome death of starvation. I'm dying already. I'm slowly shriveling up for what food I want. Personally, I would rather just drown. But good heavens, you must be blind, said James. You know very well that I'm blind, snapped the earthworm. There's no need to rub that in. Well, I didn't mean to, said James quickly. I'm sorry, but can't you see that? See? Shouted the earthworm. How can I see if I'm blind? James took a deep, slow breath. Can't you realize, he said patiently, that we have enough food here to last us for weeks and weeks? Where? They all shouted. Where? Why, the Peach, of course. Our whole ship is made of food. Jumping giant dinosaurs, they cried. We never thought of that. My dear James, said the old green grasshopper, laying a front leg affectionately on James's shoulder. I don't know what we would have done without you. You are so clever, boy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been saved again. We are most certainly not, said the earthworm. You must be crazy. You can't eat the ship. It's the only thing that's keeping us up. Well, we shall starve if we don't, said the centipede. And we shall drown if we do, cried the earthworm. Oh dear, said the old green grasshopper. Now we're worse off than ever before. Well, couldn't we eat just a little bit of it? Asked Miss Spider. I am dreadfully hungry. You can eat all you want, James answered. It would take us weeks beyond weeks to make any sort of dent in this enormous peach. Surely you can see that. Good heavens, he's right again, cried the old green grasshopper, clapping his hands. It would take weeks and weeks, of course it would. Now, but let's not go making a whole lot of holes all over our deck. I think it would be better to simply just scoop some out from the tunnel over there, the one that we've come up through. That's an excellent idea, said the ladybug. What are you looking so worried about, earthworm? The centipede asked. What's the problem now? The problem is, the earthworm said. The problem is that there is no problem. And everyone bursted out into laughter. Cheer up, earthworm, they said. Come on, let's go and eat. They all went over to the tunnel entrance and began scooping out great chunks of juicy golden color peach flesh. Oh, marvelous, said the centipede, stuffing it into his mouth. Delicious, said the old green grasshopper. Just fabulous, said the glowworm. Oh my, said the ladybug. What a heavenly taste. She looked up at James and she smiled, and James looked back at her, and they sat down on the deck together, both of them chewing away happily. You know, James, the ladybug said, up until this moment, I have never in my life tasted anything except those little tiny green flies that live on rose bushes. They have a perfectly delightful flavor, but this peach is even better. Isn't it glorious? Miss Spider said, coming over to join them. Personally, I had always thought that a big juicy caught in the web blue bottle was the finest dinner in the world until I tasted this. What a flavor, the centipede cried. It's terrific. There's nothing like it. There never has been, and I shall know, because I personally have tasted all the finest foods in the world. Whereupon then the centipede, with his mouth full of peach and with juice running down all over his chin, he suddenly burst into song. Everyone was feeling so happy after listening to his marvelous song. The sun was shining brightly out of the soft blue sky, and the day was calm, and the giant peach, with the sunlight glinting on its side, was like a massive golden ball sailing upon a silver sea. And that brings us to chapter 19, and I think that's a good stopping point. So, good thing they have James to let them know that they could eat some of the peach, but I think it's right. They have to be a little careful, right? Because if they eat the whole thing, then they're not going to have their tentative little home that they're in now. What a fun journey to be on. All right, my friends, have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.